Hello, Jaleesa. Welcome to Inside the Industry.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. It's been a long time coming, but we made it happen.
I'm so honored. This is like your world. So I was like, I need to get her on. And I think these topics are such a hit for you. I was like, I want to pick your brain and know what you're into for these topics. We're talking about originality and finding your style. And I feel like you have such a beautiful style and you're so on point. I feel like every time I see images of your work, I'm like, okay, she has a flow.
Thank
And
you so much.
originality, oh, no, it's very,
I'm
very much
blushing.
there. I don't know if it happened overnight for you or if that's something you've been working on, but tell me a little bit about that. When you feel like, I mean, most artists talk about finding your style. And I feel like
Mhm.
that's something I've questioned in my career a lot of being like, well, what the hell even is my style? I'm like,
Right.
hopefully I'm doing clean, beautiful makeup, but is there, oh, because every time I do this specific technique, or is it just the overall image of my work has some component that is constant, you know what I mean, that groups it
Right.
together of creating that vibe? What do you feel like is either your style slash where did yours kind of come about?
So I love that question. For me, my style really came with time. I think when I first started makeup, I was really intrigued by skin. So I always say that my work is clean with, a celebration of color. So you'll see always clean skin, glowy skin, but you'll still see me celebrate color in a very minimal way and sometimes not so minimal.
Yeah.
But I believe like my style came about because when I was figuring out myself in New York, I've been here for 7 years now. I really didn't know exactly what direction I wanted to go. So I did a little bit of TV and then I started assisting. And I think assisting really helped me because I was exposed to these amazing artists that had very different styles. So I spent a few years with Kabuki. And for those of you who
Oh,
don't know who he is, he's a legend.
legend.
And he's been doing a lot, he does a lot of creative makeup. So for me, I took parts of that. So my style really came about because I was exposed to everybody that I was surrounded by, but it
Right.
wasn't me trying to be take what they were doing and make it mine. It was a combination of
Right.
all those things. So obviously I assisted other people, and with time, even now, I get to work with different teams like Pat McGrath, Diane Kendall. So like continuously doing fashion week and seeing these like greats and these icons in the industry work, you kind of pick up things here and there. But
Yeah.
I think really it's like what your vision is, what you personally like. So that also defines your style. Like for you, I know you love a lot of creative makeup and it's so amazing, and you can literally take anything and take and make it into like make a makeup look. And for me, it's like sometimes I'll take something but it'll be very different from what you do.
Mhm.
So I think definitely with time and experience, your style develops.
Yes. Do you ever feel like, because I love that, and I feel similar, where I've slowly started to be able to look back at my work, like you said, either with assisting or seeing just kind of how my hand has and where I gravitate towards with taste, even just like
Right.
what I like, what inspires me, what I end up doing, just because I'm like, oh, even if I try to go some sort of way, I usually end up getting pulled back of just being like, that's my style, this is my thing.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
it is more creative. Do you ever feel like because you've been around and you've assisted a lot of different people, not you personally, but do you see other people when they're assisting kind of slowly start to adapt the person that they are assisting, their style, and almost trying to not copycat it, but it's almost innate that it's something that you're seeing, so your brain's getting conditioned to do art in a certain way, and then that
Mhm.
kind of stunts them? Or is it something that isn't for, it doesn't happen to everyone?
I actually think that's a really valid point.
Right, sometimes I see it.
And yeah, no, I can see that, but personally, I've seen assistants and obviously, peers and makeup artist friends of mine.
Mhm.
Um, you definitely pick up a lot, but I haven't seen anybody pick up so much where I feel it's unoriginal.
I
I think for some teams, especially, if you're creating for a certain team, if I'm on Diane's team
right,
and we have a show, we're gonna do skin like what Diane likes. You know what I
right,
mean? If I'm on a Pat show, we're gonna do those eyes like Pat. We're gonna do the skin like, so you have to know as an artist how to adapt. because it's not necessarily only just seeing what other people are doing. It's like, this is also like any other job. Some jobs might call for no makeup. Some jobs might be. So I think I get, I definitely get what you're saying, but I do believe that as an artist, you have to be like water. You have to be able to
Truly.
just move and flow with different styles, different, so it's also with you, it comes, down to the artist, whether they are going to try something else, because I can learn one thing and just continue to do it that one way, but then I'm stunted and my growth is also stunted.
And that's true. See, that's well said too, because a lot of the times, even if we do get stuck in a style, we still have to constantly, like you said, adapt. Because I might be working on a fashion show where I'm being requested to specifically work with or replicate a style so that
Right.
we're aesthetic across the board in
Right.
unison for that particular show or project. So you do have to have that ability as a makeup artist, not only to be original and find your way,
Right.
but then also, yes,
Exactly. And
copycat.
I've had, my style is, I love skin to look like skin. That doesn't mean you're not going to be beat, but
Oh,
I've
you do
had
it so
clients request, yeah, thank you. I've had clients because they want more coverage or they want this. And it's like, you have to be able to do it, because you can't call yourself a makeup artist if you do things one way.
right. Do you ever feel like, though, when finding your style, I mean, I feel like some artists, maybe like a Kabuki, I feel like a Mario, like, certain people, they once they hone in that style enough, even like a Sir John, it's kind of like when you get hired, you almost now know what you're asking for, or you
Right.
know what you're hiring for. I think when you
Right.
get to a certain level or status as well, when it comes to styles, you're also now, people want you for that specific,
Exactly.
you kind of can continue to be like, all right, but like you had said, I don't really like to do this really heavy beat. And
Right.
that might be something that, I mean, now people are like, Jaleesa's going to do my skin and my foundation this way, and that's what I'm buying.
Right.
This is what I want.
Right.
So you don't have to necessarily always move differently, which again, agreed, because every
Yeah.
different,
And
you have to be able to adapt. But
I do love that point, because if somebody needs makeup, like clown makeup, or not clown makeup, but like, let's say like Halloween makeup. No, no, I don't, yeah, I'm not being shady. Like actual Halloween makeup, seeing
yeah,
that it was just Halloween. But like, you're not calling me for that. Like,
right. I
that's
feel
not
like
me. You know what I mean? I'm just like,
it might not
no.
be the one. I know.
Exactly, exactly. But yeah, I still, I do believe there are different styles, but I think still those artists, you still have to adapt in certain
Totally.
situations. So you have your style. Like, if I know I want that glowy skin, great. But if there's a situation where I'm like, I want Jaleesa to do this job, but this, for this particular one or this particular look, we want to switch the look up a bit.
Yeah.
Because I think it'll be wrong to say, well, oh, Jaleesa only does, or Rachel only does glowy skin, let's not
Right.
hire her for
Eliminate.
this.
Totally.
Yeah, let's not hire her for this. But I think as you grow more in your career, like, we know Kabuki is like the creative genius. We know
Yeah.
Sir John is going to do some eyes. We know Pat is going to, like, I mean, do everything, because she's
Everything, honey.
amazing. But you know what I mean? So I think eventually, as you grow, you start to develop that recognizable style. But I think, if they call Pat to do some no makeup for a high end like British Vogue, best believe she's
She
gonna do that no makeup. Exactly.
Right,
So
right. She
yeah.
could do it all. And I agree with that statement fully, because basically I think to call yourself a pro artist, yes, you have a style, but you have to be able to do it all. At the end of the day, you want
Yeah.
doors open for yourself. You want to be able to continue to have longevity in your career. And I think, like once you said, once I just say this is all it is and I do nothing above this and I don't move over here, I don't move over there, it
Right.
limits you not only with
Yeah.
your own creativity, but with your career, because you have no idea what clients are around the corner
Exactly.
for jobs and opportunities. And I don't want to be like,
Exactly.
no, never. I had to learn
Right.
it the hard way, because I was like, I don't want to do special effects and I don't want to do hair. And it's helped me, because I feel like it's a little
Right.
far over, so I can get away with not wanting to do these things. But I've definitely lost some opportunities for being like, I don't even want to attempt to learn gore or any sort of
Right.
FX out of kit. I just don't
Right.
enjoy it. So I
Right.
find my lane in the industry that I can flourish in, because
Right.
it's not that.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Totally. Now tell me, as far as originality goes, I feel like, and
Mhm.
this came about in my head. I went to the makeup museum. Have you gone yet?
No, I haven't.
I think
No, I haven't, because I got tickets and then the world shut down, so
fair enough.
I did
They
not
are very
go.
COVID based. She's very small. I didn't realize how small she was. She's a really
Yeah,
tiny setup. And you get guided around. There's very few people in there when I went. There was literally like four, no lie, like four
I'll
people.
probably try and go.
Yeah, it was cute, but it made me think. I was like, okay, originality, because it was talking about all the, Helena Rubinsteins and the Revlons and all the big like top people
Hmm.
who started makeup artistry, who started, product lines, who built these things from the ground up. I mean, my God, Marilyn Monroe's artists, all these things, and it got me to thinking, and I was like, are we really original anymore in 2020? Is
Right.
originality even such a thing? Because I feel like anytime I do something that I feel like maybe is, oh my God, I've just done this whole new style or this new look and nobody's ever seen this eye makeup before. And then I'm like, oh, let me Google, and it's there. It's been done.
Exactly. Exactly.
I personally just feel like we all have different I don't know how to say it, like ways that we stylize it and present it, but I do believe it's all been done before. And if we
Yes.
think it's something new, I just really think we have history behind us to show.
Right.
Some makeup artists, some along the 60s and 70s were before us. You think they haven't done some glittery, crazy,
Exactly.
festival vibe? It's been done
Exactly.
before. So, what is
Right.
your kind of take on originality as far as who you believe to be the pioneers of makeup? Who are these originators, and where's your standpoint now in 2020 with it?
So definitely for me, when I think about the pioneers,
Yeah.
there's the Bobbies and the people that have built brands, but I
Right.
have kind of like forced myself to look even past that, like the
Yeah.
Bernadine Andersons, especially Black makeup legends that have been,
Work.
doing makeup for a long time. And I salute them because they did that stuff without even having the proper products to make it happen.
Right.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
And then you have what Reggie Wells, who's an icon, Vanessa Evelyn,
Rest
rest
in
in
peace.
peace.
Yeah.
And obviously Kevin Aquan, Pat McGrath. So I'm not just looking at who is still around. I'm looking to see what really came before me. And
Right.
I do think when it comes to originality, everything has been done before. And I know sometimes there's always like these little things that pop up on social media where it's like, well, this makeup artist did this and you went and did the same thing. And I get that sometimes people do copy off people.
Yeah.
I'm doing air quotes right now,
Yeah.
but for those who are listening, but sometimes, we're creatives, you know what I mean? And I think about it like this. Let's say you go to Paris, right? You're
Mhm.
having a good day, you're walking around, and a lot of these paintings look very alike.
Right.
One person did not do this entire like museum.
Right.
It wasn't one person, but you will see so many similarities in these
Similar.
paintings.
Totally.
So it's like these are creative people. So you sometimes you will see things, merge, and you'll be like, oh wait, this looks just like that one.
Mhm.
So I do think, over time you're watching whatever you are exposing yourself to, whether it's just being on social media, whether
Totally.
the magazines you read. I remember when I really first started makeup and, just searching online, my mentor at the time, Crystal Wright, she always used to say, um, it's based on like, don't look at bad photography. And this is me, like, I didn't even have a portfolio. And I was like, I'm not working with these people. Like,
No,
that's bad
they don't deserve
photography.
me. You need your work.
I mean, no, I'm just
Fine.
yeah, I'm not trying to be facetious, but it was just like she's like, don't look at bad photography. So like really what you expose yourself to, you're going to internalize those things and then you're going to produce that.
Mhm.
It's just like your thoughts, if
Totally.
you're gonna think bad thoughts, those things are gonna come back out. So
Yes.
it's really what you expose yourself to. So and I know a lot of people get inspiration only off social media now, but it's important to just kind of go when the world was open, and especially when I first moved to New York, I used to go to the International Center of Photography on 42nd Street, and
Nice.
they have a library there that's open to the public where you can go and see all these books
Mhm.
on photography, on makeup, on lighting, like just like a whole like world. And I would go there and just like on my days off and spend time and try and expose myself to things that I wasn't being exposed to. So I definitely think, I don't want to say that some people don't come up with ideas, because I've seen things on social where I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
damn, I never thought of that.
No,
That's
how to
dope.
put that color
You know what I mean? Like,
combination.
yeah,
Right. Right.
exactly. There's things that I've never seen before. So
Mhm.
I can't say that nobody has ever come up with a original
Right.
idea, but of course, if we look to other things or we look in the past, we'll find something
We'll
similar.
find it
You
close.
know what I
Right.
mean? Yeah, but I do think that, I don't want to say everything's been done, but kind of has been. But
Yeah.
sometimes adding your own little twists,
Yeah, we make a
color
spin,
combo.
we make
Yeah,
a
it's
dance,
like,
which
yeah,
I think is
just
like people always say sometimes. I mean, the biggest form of flattery is imitation. So I
right.
feel like when you do, like you said, if we're taking the time to influence ourselves in the way where I'm looking in the right spaces to get influenced and have my mind being trained with certain styles and good art, essentially. I love that
Right.
Kristen Wright was like, don't look at shitty things,
Mhm.
okay? Don't look at bad photography. Because first of all, you're
No,
gonna think it's trained to be that's good. And it is an
right.
interesting thing because I know and I'm sure just with years it always adapts too because I'm sure whatever some things I think that are amazing right now, I'm probably going to look back in 10 to 20 years and be like, oh my God, why did I do a brow like that? And I thought it was
Right.
amazing.
But at that time, you were learning and growing, so it was fine, you
Right.
know?
And that's the thing about art. It's always going to be it's cyclical, you know what I mean? It's just always changing and growing and evolving. So will
Mm-hmm.
our art, so will the styles. So eventually everything's outdated and then it comes back. And that's kind of the
Exactly.
fun
Same
part of
thing
it.
with fashion. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yes, 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 yes. Well, I love that. And now I kind of want to talk about you had mentioned a little bit on inspiration and
Mm-hmm.
where you find it. And I actually love that you mentioned the photography because I did not even know about that on 42nd Street. Because I know I'll pop into museums. And for me, especially right now in quarantine, it's like I feel so stunted creatively because I am half the place because we can't leave our homes to
Right.
seek to find the inspiration is solely online. So it's kind of like
Right.
a two-part question I want to ask you. Where, when we were normally living, our
Mm-hmm.
lives out there, where were you seeking your inspiration? And now that it's different and we have to switch gears, but you're still working, you're still creating, where have you trained yourself to get your inspiration from to keep the juices flowing?
So, like I mentioned before, that International Center of Photography is a really good
Oh, cool.
resource.
I had no idea.
Um, and then, I mean, I never used to go there very often, but when I could, I did.
Cool.
Um, Also, Pinterest.
Yes.
Pinterest there's a lot of makeup inspo on Pinterest,
Mhm.
but there's also a lot of like texture info, a lot of
Yeah.
history. So if you're looking to put together a mood board, which I do suggest that a lot of makeup artists do try and put together their own mood boards, don't just put makeup inspiration on there. Put
Right.
textures, put words. So I love doing that. I'm not gonna lie, I do still find inspiration on social media. Like I'll have
Totally.
like my little like
I saved.
folder.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I have my little save folder. I'm like, oh, this is cute, or this is,
Yes.
something, or even it may not just be like makeup. I'm looking at hair, I'm looking at
Ooh,
styles.
nails get
Um,
a lot.
like all these different things could play a part because I can look at there was a mood board that I made. What's those mountains called in Arizona? The pretty
Oh my
ones.
God, the red ones. What are they?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. They're like Red Canyon clay.
Yeah, something. I forgot the
Um,
name of it, guys.
they're gorgeous.
They're gorgeous, but I made a mood board based on those mountains before. You
People
know what I
were,
mean?
yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So it's just like you can create literally
It
anything,
makes
like
your brain,
anything.
yes, think
Yes.
so differently. If I'm not
Yes.
staring, because for me, I know if I'm staring just at makeup images, like you're saying, I look at just other makeup artists' art, just other eye images, lip images, when I'm trying to create a look or a vibe, I innately, and this is why I tell people a lot of times people are like, go listen to other podcasts or go listen to other things. Or go, I said no, because I am very influenced to the point where it will be so subconscious that I
Yes.
will indirectly
And you'll do the
do things
same thing.
and
Yep.
I'm like, oh my God. And even when my brain is kind of configuring it differently, but then when I look at the end image, I'm like, bitch, you did the
That's the
exact same
same
thing.
thing.
And I'm like, Rachel, stop. So it's so hard to train myself to not. But that's why I'm like, stick to the birds and the trees and the rocks because maybe you'll come up with something with
Right.
textures and colors and grains that will just end up looking different and more original at the end of the day.
So I was on set the other day. I was doing a holiday campaign for Mac, and one of the makeup artists that was there, she had this little book. It's like this Japanese book of color combinations, and I found that to be so interesting.
So
So, of course, I went and I bought the book. She's like, "You need this book." I was like, "Say less." So I bought the book, and it was just like for me, instead of looking at other people's makeup, I'm like now because we work with color. But
yeah.
like I have my favorite color combinations. Give
Okay.
me green, give me anything emerald, blue. I'm like,
Really?
yes,
Oh yeah,
yes.
blue and orange. I'm a
You know,
sucker.
oh
Yeah,
my God. So like look at me now. I'm like green. I had to pop
green.
an
It,
orange lip
yeah,
on. Like I'm just like, all right, so I bought the book and now I'm like looking through all these color combinations and I'm like, ooh, like I could create this, I could do this. Like, so I'm like, fine, like actively looking for other ways to come up with looks and to be inspired
It
because I
helps.
don't want to just look on other people's creations. That's cool and that's fine. But
Yeah.
I'm just flipping through this book and like things are popping up in my head, like, oh, I have this like new thing from Lisa Elridge or this or that, and I can use this and like play around, and that also
Mhm.
inspired me to use the products that I have, because sometimes we
Yes.
have things and we kind of like, forget them in the corner, and then they're like, please use me. So
Yes.
yeah, that book has, if you want, I can send you the link, or I can
Yes,
share the link with you guys so you
please.
can share it with your
Love
audience.
that.
But
It's
yeah.
so helpful. I feel like color theory is always something when I'm getting like completely stifled in creativity, I'll take out my color wheel. I always have that in my kit and I
Right.
will just maneuver it. And I have the ones that like move from like blank
Yes,
or
yes,
art
yes,
to
yes.
be like, okay, what works? Can I go to, tertiary? I can never say that word, by the way. Tertiary,
Tertiary.
tertiary colors,
Tertiary.
like anything to just get the combo right. God damn it, Rachel. But it just,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And it helps. And I love that. And I think we kind of touched on it a bit. But do you feel like also somebody that I did want to mention who I think does a phenomenal job about creating inspiration just from textures and has a really cool imagery is
Ooh.
Miss, well, I always say her Instagram handle, but it's Joe Baker. Her name is like Miss
Oh, right. I
Bro.
thought you were gonna say Terry Barber.
Okay, not mad at that either though. Because you see always the inspiration that they have will be like a peeled lemon and then the eye is really cool, or it'll be like a lit
Exactly.
match and you're like,
Exactly.
and it looks so
Exactly.
good and the imagery is so there. She does similar as well, and she always has a swipe moment where it's like she'll do an eye look or whatever she's doing on a vibe, like on Lily Collins and all these crazy beautiful people, and then she'll go and I'm like, it's like a living mood board, and I love
Right.
her posts for that because it's never just plain images of other makeup. It's always textures and rivers and I love
Right.
it. So
Right.
he's one to look out for as well. Terry is amazing.
Yes.
And I kind of want to know because I feel like we've touched on it a little bit, but ultimately, I think if used the right way, I think we're both kind of saying that social media can be used in a way to heighten your creativity.
Of
But like you had
course.
said, be really smart. I think people forget all the time is like your feed is made up of what you look at and what you
Yep.
choose to follow. So if you feel like it's the same generated looks, then maybe it has to do with the same either makeup or just the styles of things that you're looking at.
Right.
So I think you got to train your Instagram to also be what is going to help inspire you and push you out of your box. Do you feel
Right.
like that? Have you gotten your feed to a place where you're like, okay, it's diverse enough?
Oh yeah, and then even if you don't want to follow certain things, you can follow hashtags.
Yeah.
So you can follow hashtags, beauty edits, hashtag beauty editorial,
Mhm.
hashtag whatever it is,
That is
because you're in control. I mean, obviously the algorithm sometimes does what it wants,
yes.
um, but we have some control
Yeah.
that we can choose what we want to see. And if something doesn't inspire anymore, just unfollow. It's social
Just
media.
slowly start unfollowing, and then it'll look better for you because they'll be like, "Oh my god, look at all these
Exactly.
people that follow you that don't follow." I
Yeah.
learned that the other day because I'll go
If
around,
you're
I will follow mass amounts of people, and my
right.
algorithm is jacked, and I don't
If
care.
you're scrolling through and you're overwhelmed by your feed,
Yeah,
then that's an indication of like, all right,
weed her down a little
let's
bit,
clean this up.
detox her a tiny itty bitty bit.
Exactly.
Oh my god, I love that. I also wanted to know. I feel like oh my god, and I love when I go blank in an interview, Rachel. That's what I get for just mess. It will come back to me. It will come back to me. But I want to know a little bit more about kind of like when, ooh, this was what it was. And I love that. It's somebody
Ooh.
told me this the other day, and it was to kind of help you push your creativity. And I don't think somebody physically told me again. I'm sure my brain saw it and then was like, somebody told me that. And it was
Right.
on Instagram. But it was basically in order to kind of get us out of our styles and creativity and like get it boosted a bit on set is to they were like I limit myself to products that I bring on set because I think also when doing our styles and being in our comfort
Hmm.
zones and creating on set and we get stuck kind of in that regimen like you said sometimes products speak to you and you're like oh I haven't used you a little bit let me like use that pencil instead of this 5 pencils that I always use or this
Hmm.
type of foundation or these highlighters so they were like oh just bring like 7 things in your kit whatever it was like do a really tiny micro kit and then make a full face out of that I was like no, the amount of anxiety that I have to not feel like I don't have everything I would need in a possible case
Right.
scenario. But have
Right.
you ever done something similar that helps you kind of like really curve like your norm on set when you're creating?
I think the only thing that I can really speak to is when I'm redoing my kit in its entirety, like
Okay.
a full clean out, like
Mhm.
going through new PR, taking things out, like, hey, you know what? I haven't used this in a while.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll take it out and, put it aside for a while and put something else in its place.
Mm.
I've taken things out, I've tossed things that I no longer use.
Yeah.
I've opened my kit and I realized, wow, I never touched this. Let me donate it.
Right.
So, it's really just kind of like having, I think it's all energy. Like if you open your kit and it feels heavy and you're like, I don't use this, I don't do this, but you're carrying around all this stuff that you
Right.
don't
And you
use.
haven't
That's
touched it
also,
in like
yeah,
a year. It's not worth
yeah,
it. You
yeah.
can't
It's
like it.
definitely a time to like refresh that energy. And I do think like repacking your kit and fixing it just brings in that new energy where it's like, okay, I'm ready to work. Like I'm ready for new things. So
Mhm.
yeah.
No, I identify with that a lot. I completely agree. The other thing we wanted to talk about a bit, because I think you're major at it. You've been doing it, like I had mentioned, a lot longer than I have, my dear. The social media game, the content creating life, it is new and bright and shiny to me. And I'm loving it because it really is a fun new, as a creative, it's a wonderful space, especially as a makeup artist. You're
Hmm.
also, the thing that I love about you, Jaleesa, is that you not only are an influencer type, but you're a pro artist and you mesh the world so beautifully together. And I respect it because I identify the most with that kind of influencing versus just full time, YouTuber or influencer. I can't identify with that person as much because I'm still
Right.
out in the technical field,
Right.
being on set and doing the work with clients other than just my own face.
Right.
So, where, and I know you do coaching as well, you had mentioned with that, and that's something you
Hmm.
touched on. I love that not only does she do coaching, this is the thing about Jaleesa, this girl, I don't know when you sleep. I don't understand how you do things. I was so lucky to have you here today. This girl coaches, you do artists, isn't it artist? Oh my God, and I'm gonna be horrible. I'm so bad with names and things, but isn't it like artists that share a space, artists
I
create
have the life of a makeup artist, just a podcast.
the podcast. Yes, like
Yes.
people have to tune to that. But what's the other artist making a difference?
Artist making a difference.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
where you donate, you do so much for the beauty community as a whole. It's wild to me. We're going to touch on the
Thank
content
you.
creating, but I needed to plug and say the mass amount of things that you do because it
Oh
is
my
a
God. Thank you
lot.
so much.
And we're going to have it all below here for people to follow. I'm sure they're already following you. I know that much. But tell me a little bit about kind of how you make waves in the content world. What's the most important things to you when people are, especially new to content creating?
Hmm.
What are like these key points that we can take home with us to really boost that, things that we are creating?
Okay, so I definitely thank you so much for all of that, by the way. I'm like
Woo,
blushing over here.
please.
But I would give 3 points. And just for a little quick backstory, when I first moved to New York, it was very taboo to be a makeup artist and an so-called influencer content creator. It was a very dirty word in the makeup artist community, and
That is
you
true.
know, yeah,
It was
it was
frowned
very
upon
dirty.
once upon a
And
time. Yeah.
frowned upon beyond.
Yeah.
And when I came to New York, I was only 3 years into my YouTube career, and not even a career then. It was just like, oh, I like makeup, so I'm just gonna do
Right.
this. And now I've been on YouTube for 10 years, but I kind of like put aside, like I was like, well, that's not what I came to New York for. I'm about to be in Paris. Like I want to do this. I want to be on set. I want to do fashion week. So it really, me doing content was not my priority. I didn't take my content seriously. I only posted my work on my socials.
Mm,
And but during that time, I still had the drive to share my story, because I do believe there are parts of the industry, not everyone, but there were parts of the industry where it's like you couldn't be an expert or you couldn't share certain things because you didn't have X amount of years in industry.
I,
And I'm just like, listen, if you are a makeup artist for 2 weeks and you went on set and learned something, I
why
want to know
can't
about
I
that.
share that? Exactly.
And me coming from Trinidad at the time when I first started getting into makeup,
Yeah.
it was like there were a lot of info online, but that's when YouTube really started popping off. So there wasn't much. And I was like, well, I'm gonna be the one to share things. Like I'm gonna tell you how to get on Fashion Week. I'm gonna do these things. So my content, that's how the life of a makeup artist was born.
Yeah.
It was just initially my YouTube.
Yep.
And eventually, like I was just doing my little, like when I first came to New York, I had friends that were doing beauty blogging. And they would like take me to events, and like, you know, that's when I first started to like go to makeup events, and like I was just like innately interested in that world because it was something I was always interested in.
Totally.
And as time progressed, I found that, you know what, like this is something that I want to do. You know, I don't, you know, at first, you know, because when you don't really find yourself at first, you're finding your footing in the industry. You want to fit in, right? You want to be
Yes.
accepted.
Woo.
And eventually I was like, I don't care. I'm just going to do what I want to do.
Fair.
Yeah, I think sometimes eventually you just have to step into who you are and what you
Yeah, your
want.
power for sure.
Yeah, and I think now so many artists, pro makeup artists, are just like, you know what, I'm gonna do this, I like this, and I'm gonna step out and give it a try. And I think it's not even just like, oh, makeup artists are trying to be influencers. Now, no, we are influencers because
Are.
we're the one doing the makeup. We are the people that people are asking, what's that red lip, what's that? So I'm just like, if you have that expertise, why not share it with the
Why not?
world? I'm
Right.
like, nobody is asking you to drip serum down your cheek. Like, you could just like, you don't have to fit into the mold of what you think an
You
influencer is.
have to use
Like,
that spoon as a contour on your
right,
arm.
you
It's
don't
so
have to
great.
do, and like there's no rules, literally, you know what I mean? And so my first thing would I would say is like, if you want to do it, just start.
That's
The
great. Yes.
first thing is like, it becomes very intimidating to now be on camera when you're just like this behind the scenes person, because that's the first thing I hear with artists. It's like, I don't like to be on camera. I'm like, do it in micro like doses, so you can either just hop on stories, you can share, hey, these are my top 5 or my top 3 red lips, or
Yes.
these are the things that I like to take on set with me.
Mhm.
Just find different like different ways to share your expertise, because you know, now in the age of COVID, like you still want to be seen as the authority. And I think sharing your knowledge, things that you know, like things that you may think are so basic,
Oh, I
people
get it.
want to know. Like, I do this, I love black eyeliner. I'm not wearing any right now, but like,
Oh, it's so good.
people like, how do you do your black eyeliner? And I'm like, really? Like,
Just
how
the
do I do
highlight,
black
right?
eyeliner? Yeah, I'm like, just put it on, you know? But, you know, so you might think things are so basic, but people want to know
There's
that. And I
somebody
think
if
just
you
going
need
back
it.
to the basics. Yeah, just going back to the basics. The
Like,
second thing I would say is that show personality. You know, I was stuck in a place where I was like, I'm only posting my work and my page is so serious, and I'm just,
mhm.
you know, you're doing all the tags, which is great, tag the team, but it's just like, tell me a story
Just
about what happened that day on
personable, right?
set. Yeah, like, just don't post editorial after editorial, like, oh,
Mhm.
it's like, all right, this day was da da da, or this is how I got the look, you know, like find different ways to take your makeup and make a story out of it. Because I tell people, listen, if I start following you, I'm not scrolling all the way to the bottom. So if you take work and repurpose it, that's totally
Yeah.
fine. It's
Yeah.
totally fine.
Instead of
And then
people get really starved to constantly have to be creating, and they get really
right,
burnt out really quick
right,
because they think I
exactly,
have to post all the time. It has to be the newest and the greatest, and it's like not necessarily. And like you said, sometimes simpler the better, and then you can
right,
just kind of beef up your content
right,
slowly versus really spazzing out. I mean, I know
right. Like, I
I've
need to
said a
I
bit.
need to create. Da, 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 da. I'm like,
Yeah,
I mean, this is a really weird time in the world,
yeah,
and I think, you know, you have to, I this is my quote for myself.
yeah,
I'm gentle with myself, yet applying pressure.
yeah.
So give yourself days if you just want to, like, you know what, I wanted to do content today and it wasn't working out. Okay, fine, just
Right.
do it another day.
Happened. You
Because how
tried.
you, yeah, how you speak to yourself is so important. And I learned that over time, especially during quarantine. It's like, if I bump my toe, if a palette falls, I'm not mad. I'm like, girl, I roll my eyes and it's just like, whatever. I would laugh at like little things like that instead of frustrating myself, because
Right.
the energy that you put into what you're doing, if you're like, oh, this content isn't coming out good, this isn't looking good, I'm so stressed, this is so hard. And that's fine to have those moments,
Yeah.
but constantly inserting that energy into into what you're doing is going to show in the end product. So
100.
just like have fun with it. Don't put too much pressure. And I think the last thing I would say, you know, once you start getting into it, is which is sort of more of like a strategy, is like, if you, let's say like you do a lot of color, right, and the brands that you want to work with. Because I tell everybody this, everybody wants to work with brands and start making money online and start, monetizing and things like that. But let's be real, you don't like every brand,
No,
right? You don't. So I don't. So
and
I'm not gonna.
you haven't even used them either. I love when people are like,
Exactly,
I love that
exactly.
brand. I'm like, you don't have one damn thing in your kit of that brand.
Exactly. So I had a friend
But
actually ask me the other day, like, how come you never worked? Da, 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 da. So I went onto the brand's page and I went to the DMs. I have a few products from the brand and I actually used it the other day, but I haven't really mentioned this brand in my stories or anywhere. So I'm like, who am I to think that just because I'm a content creator or a makeup artist and I have certain expertise that I'm supposed to work with this brand? No, like you
which is
also
very
have
authentic.
yeah, like you
Your
have to
integrity there.
yeah, like but like you have to be able to, like, you can't just be like, well, I want to work with brands. Okay, so what are you offering the
Right.
brand? Like, what do you bring different? And of course there's so many people that can do amazing makeup, but
Yes.
you have an expertise that is different and nobody is you, and that's your
Unique.
power. Yeah,
Exactly.
so like let's
And
say
that
you
might
start
even be
creating
your personality, right? Sometimes it's not even
exactly
always your pure skill set. Sometimes it's literally because, well, they like to listen to you. The way you speak, how you present it
exactly
might be super
and
unique and you can
And
run
it
with
could be just also the way your eyes are shaped. Somebody like, oh my God, you have the same eye shape as me. I love you.
that.
So
Yes.
when you start creating these looks, don't forget to connect with the brands online, whether it's just tagging, even if you like tag them and you make it really small or you put it the same color as the background, you make sure you connect with these brands. And then another bonus thing, while you're connecting with brands, make sure you connect with your peers, because it's always, that support is like, even if I'm not posting, I'm in a mood, whatever, I'll go on my friends post and I'll hype them up. And because sometimes you create these things and then you're like, great, 100 likes, you're mad. But when you
Yeah, you
see
feel
your friends hype, yeah, like you feel defeated, which is a whole nother conversation. But it's like when
totally.
you have a friend that pops up and be like, oh yes, fire emoji, like this was
You're like,
fire, like you're
me?
like, oh my God, like thank you so much. So those little things really help. So just making sure that you tag those brands that you're aligned with, brands that because my thing is like I've reviewed brands that I've never like work with, and then eventually I work with them. There's
Right?
a particular brand that I love this brand. I wouldn't say who it is, but
Yeah.
I love this brand. You do not understand. I have so many products from this brand. I have never worked with them. I've never even tried to work with them. They've reached out to me one time to repost my work, and it's like I don't feel like, oh, because I love this brand so much, like, are you supposed to be working with me? Of course. Do I want to work with them? Hell yeah.
Right.
But like I'm still gonna talk about their stuff. I'm still gonna, so it's not always about, yes, we want to monetize, make money, but it's like, what do you like? Who do you align with? So yeah, I'll still continue to talk about this brand because they're fire. And if I ever work with them, great. If I don't, fine. You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
just finding your lane, maybe writing down your top 10 brands that you think you might want to work with, and
Very well.
challenging yourself to like work with those products, and also making sure that you're an ally, just being online,
Yeah.
sharing your friends' stories. I just did a collab with two of my makeup artist friends, where our friend Katie, we came up with this thing called Artists with Influence. So we've
I've
been
seen
rocking with that. Yeah, so my friend Jonee Williamson, Fatima Isadare, we were like, I was like, guys, I want to do this jewel tune thing. Let's all do like something. So we did it, and like the videos have been doing really well for us. And we just was like, let's just push ourselves to do something. Like it wasn't even something that's super over planned. So
that.
just doing things like that to keep your creativity going, because sometimes you really won't be in the mood. And I was just like, damn, I ended up staying up until 4 to get that video done. Had I not, I probably would have been sleeping.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, I hope those tips help. And of course, like you mentioned, I do coaching and stuff, so you can always connect with me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Such an incredible source for it. And it's so, and the thing that's so, I love the biggest point, one of you made that sticks and identifies with me, is doing things that you love and having fun and connecting with your audience. Because it's one
Right.
thing to go on and you see this really phenomenal artist art and they're so badass and the art is there and it's editorial after editorial and there is kind of this prestigious energy that's like bleeds off their feed because you're like,
Mhm.
whoa, look at all these celebrities or things they're doing. But then I have no idea anything about the artist. I don't know
Right.
how they move. I don't know morally where they stand because
Right.
also for me, and this might be, you know, it might not be popular opinion, but it's just how I move. I don't really fully always care also as well as how incredibly talented you are when I find out where maybe you stand morally, politically, not to say I X people out that don't always align with me, but also there are some things that really do shake me.
Right.
If I don't like the way that person is just flat out mean, or maybe they're
Right.
nasty, or they move in a very just a certain type of way and their vibe is kind of I don't align with. That's
Right.
more so for me something that's going to put me off from wanting to be influenced or follow or be super not non-supportive, but just people that I do and don't align with. Because like you had said, there are brands that you don't like. There are also going to be artists you just not everybody is going to
Right.
get along. I hear often a lot of people say, you know, oh, it's a big industry or it's a small industry, and I'm like, that's fine, but all I know not everyone likes me, and I know I don't like everyone, and that's okay. That's
That's okay, because you don't, who thinks about the people that doesn't like
well,
them?
right. It's the same thing with brands, the same things with work. You just got to move and be authentic as can be and have fun at
Right.
the end of the day. Oh my Lord.
Right.
First, have fun. I kind of like that you touched on confidence in your work and we had talked about your styles and stuff. And I kind of
Hmm.
want to know, you had said it was over time for you, but was there a particular moment or a time where you really sat and felt like, damn, I'm doing the thing. I mean, like you had said, you've been doing the content, the YouTubing, and you had all these dreams for yourself of I want to work in Paris. And for people that don't know you, I mean, Jaleesa, many of the things you listed, you've done. You've conquered a
Right.
lot of things that you set out to do coming to New York, and that's so powerful. Was
Thank
there
you.
ever a really true moment for you where you were like, I'm settling into my groove here. Like I really am feeling myself and where my career is on its way.
I think honestly that came when, so I produce a lot of my own shoots. Like I'm really proactive in like what I want my portfolio to look like. And
Mhm.
I think when, as a makeup artist, when you don't have those photos that reflect your work, you feel like something is missing. Like, you know, you can do this work, but you don't have anything that can show that. And
Mhm.
I think when I first, because my thing was like, I love beauty, I want to do beauty. And I was shooting a lot with my friend Alana. And when I first worked with her, and maybe like the first 2 or 3 times when I got those pictures back, I was just like, damn, like this is what I like, not even just like, but obviously like nothing's wrong with patting myself on the back, but I was like, this is what I want to
Yes.
do. Like this is, you know, and those images are still on my, literally like timeless images that are still on my portfolio this day, that have booked me jobs. So I think it's in those moments, it wasn't like obviously I've had cool jobs, I've been in certain situations, but it was that like, it wasn't the validation of somebody else. It was like me recognizing like,
Mhm.
all right, girl, you're growing, you're doing, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
are, you're doing the things that you said you wanted to do. And now you have tangible evidence of that work. So for me, it was that. And then like, just, you know, even as time progressed, there was a particular shoot that we did with like the afros that I talk about all the time.
Oof.
And
The one with the gloves.
yes, with the gloves. And it was a very collaborative project. And it was just like, all right, I got to come up with these looks. I found the model for the shoot, and I was like, all right, I want to do something different. I want to do green lips, I want to do blue lips, I want, you know, and standing in that, in my, the confidence, like, you
Yeah.
know what, I'm gonna do this, even though it was done in a really minimal way. Like the images are super clean, but
Yeah.
there's still a green lip there, there's still a blue lip there. But
Yes.
really just saying like, yo, this is my style, and I'm gonna do what I want to do,
Right.
and having the confidence to go with it. So it really was, it only always came with me pushing myself and seeing the evidence of that, and you know, the things that come along with it.
It's a priceless moment. It really is. I've had a couple of them. I still for sure have that sensation like you had talked about where it's like I look at things and I'm like, oh, I know I can do better than that. Or like I
Yep.
know I'm evolving and I need the right team and time and opportunity. And I love that you make your own way. I myself do a lot of producing as well. And it's I always had that stuck in my head. And many people told it to me along the way, but they were like, if it's not there for you, the opportunity's not there, create it yourself. Whether it be a
Exactly.
shoot, a job, something that to show what your capabilities are, create it. Don't just sit and
Right.
wait for that perfect job to come across your desk to
Right.
shine your light. Do it and make it for yourself. And I love that you touched on that specific photo
Yeah.
shoot because I have had multiple jobs use it as a mood board and inspiration for jobs that I've been booked on.
Wow.
They've literally, which is major. That's another moment. They're taking your work, and I'm like, I know who did this. I was like, it's incredible. But it's like, I don't know if I can do the same. No, I'm kidding. I'm like,
I
it's so
can.
good. I can't touch her. It's so good. I love it, and I love that you've had those moments, and will continue to. I guess to wrap it up on our little tail end, you've given us so many juicy gems and wonderful insights to the industry, and I love it. I kind of want to know something that you wish somebody told you stepping into this industry that they either didn't, or later you were like, oh, this is for something for sure I have to pass along, like you had said when you're sharing your knowledge. Was there anything in particular, maybe not even just I guess more specifically about choosing makeup artistry as a career, that people maybe could have forewarned you about or you hadn't realized at the time?
Damn, that's a good question. Honestly, when I first moved to New York, I started my career just dabbling in makeup. I started working at MAC in Trinidad, and I transferred with the brand here.
So cool.
And my whole plan was like, I'm gonna leave MAC. I'm gonna just, and I still love the brand, but I really wanted to get myself into freelance. And I asked too many people for their advice,
Mm.
and I got so many. So this is, how can I make this sound?
Oh, but that's
So
gonna be a very good.
yeah, like I asked too many people's advice, and what I got was their fears instead.
Mm.
Not to say like I needed the perfect answer, but I got so many people's fears, and then it was just like, okay, don't leave your job in the winter time because it's dead. Don't leave spring because it's dead. Don't leave summer because nobody works in summer. And I'm just like, well, I guess
What
I'm
do
never
I?
gonna leave. You know
Right,
what I
I'm
mean?
never gone.
Yeah. So it's like, I think really and truly what I wish somebody would have said is like, which eventually someone did,
Mhm.
Linda Zirkus, but um, just go for it. I know it sounds really like generic,
No.
but I go for it, but have a plan at the side. Like I am super Capricorn planner girl. Like I
Mhm.
need to make sure. So I'm like saving my money, putting
Yeah.
aside this. So like have a plan with a plan, like a plan. Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like have a plan to leave, do what you got to do, or
Yeah.
go and like for that show that you want to be on or whatever it is.
Mhm.
But I think if somebody is not doing what you want to do, even though they might have experience, if they're not specifically doing what you want to do,
Mm.
don't try and ask too many people for their advice. So I would want, if I was to go back in time, I would want somebody to say, you know what, I know you want to do these things. It You're going to have slow periods, but not just put that fear on like don't leave, like you know what I mean? It was just like it was very tumultuous. For it was a feeling where I was
Yeah.
like I felt defeated before I
Very
even
fearful.
started.
Right.
Yeah, like I felt defeated before, and I was just like, damn, could I make this work? I can't, you know what I mean? So it's just like really taking the time to just like, you know what, I'm gonna ask for advice, but I'm not going to spread myself thin or worry
Mm.
too much.
Oh,
And
that's
then
major.
yeah, it's
I
like
fully agree because I've gotten it clouds your own experience and what could have been your experience because, like you said, a lot of people are projecting. It's the same thing
right.
the therapist tells me. She's like, stop asking people about relationship advice because they're never going to give you the answer. It's going to cloud your own
Are
experience.
they in a
Right.
are they in a healthy relationship? Like, bro, not to say like you
But
can't
it's
ask people for
true.
advice, and I don't hold this against them because I think they gave me advice as I asked, and they were really
Right.
nice, about it, and they were
What
able
would
to share
sound
their experience.
totally.
But also, like, I have to be cognizant, and I have to be aware
Mhm.
of my own, like, like we said, the things that you take in, because then I could have been like, you know what, everybody says this is not going to work out, let me just stay here, you know what I mean, let me just remain
Right.
put, and then you're stagnant. So
Yeah.
at some point there's going to be a time where you have to take a leap, where you have to,
Mhm.
but I always say, like, if you have a job, listen, work that job. I was headed to
Yeah.
the airport every single day, 2 hours to and from work, and I made it work on my days off. That's when I started working with Kabuki and started assisting. So most of my time I was working literally 7 days a week. My vacations was fashion week. Like that's the time
Woo!
I took my vacations. So like you got to make it work. Whatever, it doesn't even have to be a makeup job. Whatever else you're doing, like you can literally make it work and find a way to just navigate and not have to like have too many fears. Obviously the industry is different now, but
Mhm.
at the end of the day, like it's still a
Possibilities are
very alive industry.
absolutely super
Yes.
alive. And I love that you said that, because with everything you've kind of said, the overall, I love the vibe is that you give is really just like you can make your reality or your dreams a reality, and you really can make your own lane in which way. You just have to constantly work hard, have a wonderful mindset with it, and it's going to come to fruition. Because again, if you're really putting it out there and projecting it and putting in the work as well, it's only a matter of time and not getting
Right.
stunted on when or how necessarily, but it's
Right.
gonna come for you when it's meant to come for you. And it clearly did for you in so many incredible ways. And
Thank you.
I
And
love
a book that really helped me with just calming myself. I mean, I have so many
oh,
book recs,
yeah.
but the Money Book for the Young, Broke, and Fabulous is such a great book by Susie Orman. I
Okay.
think especially as freelancers,
Yeah.
that's one thing. If I were to give advice on that, like one thing, that I can share is that you're never not managing your money. Like you are like
Yes.
as a freelancer, I think that's m-
It's
the
as
a
especially free.
skill besides makeup skills, social media, like your money management skills are going to be if you make it or break it. So
Right.
yeah, that book is really, really helpful and helped me learn about credit. I came from the Caribbean, so we don't have that there, so I had to teach myself everything. So yeah,
That's
definitely
major. You've
really
already
good
given
book.
us two little like gems of books that I'm gonna be like, give me this Japanese coloring book,
Oh,
the color book,
right.
and I'm
Yes.
gonna need that as well. Because it's so important. I love that you touched on it, because it's on top of just artistry, freelance in and of itself is its own game for sure, as a business and a career choice, financially, stability, saving, because on top of like living your dream career, you also have, I'm sure, other things that you want to accomplish just as a woman and living your life, whether it be
Right.
socially and for the way that you want to just be out and having a lifestyle. So
Right.
you want to be able to fulfill all these things, and it is very possible.
And in hindsight, the people that did give me advice is that they were right. Like you might do a great job, but then 3 months later, you're waiting on your checks. You did all these fashion shows
Right,
that was so fabulous, but then you're waiting for your check. So, really
right.
learning how to manage and navigate.
Major. Jaleesa, I cannot thank you enough for giving me your time today. Really, truly, you've given us all the tea, all the
Thank you
things, and
so
so
much
wonderfully
for
said.
having me. We're definitely gonna have to do this again on my side.
Oh, please. I would be honored. Oh my God.
Of
I was like, I
course.
need to get on some IGTVs with this girl. I need to hone in my skills and get some cleaner skin on my end, take some tips, learn some
Oh
things.
my God, you're glowing. Stop, guys. She's
Ah,
glowing.
no.
Listen, this red lip is everything.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, my darling, we're going to tag everything of Jaleesa below, guys. Many things to share. Keep up with her and all her endeavors that she has going on with Life of the Makeup Artist, her YouTube channel, and so much more. Thank you for tuning into Inside the Industry. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.